I'm CK. Welcome to another installment of CK buys random kits off of eBay and sees what they are. I haven't opened this one yet. I bought about 5 on eBay the other day, so I'm not quite sure which one this is. So we'll take a look at it and see if it's worthwhile, see if it's something you might want to give to a young builder to try out, and pretty much see if it's any fun to build. Hope you enjoy it. So let's see what we have in this bag. Seems pretty light and seems pretty small. I'm not quite sure what's in this one. Except a bunch of bubble wrap, which is not great. I dislike bubble wrap quite a bit for a lot of reasons. Okay, there's a little bitty bag here with some stuff in it. As you can clearly see, there's no stuff indicating what this stuff is. Use a small parts tray on this one. And we'll take out the circuit board first and see what's up. Well, I don't really know what's up. Get my pointy thing. So we've got A, B, C, D ground. We've got S1, I assume that's a switch, some resistors, some other stuff here, a couple of diodes, a speaker, 2 ICs, transistor, and some other stuff. I think this is a 16-tone or 16-song music box, but it's going to be hard to find any information about this. I may go back to the eBay listing. The eBay listing might have more information on it, because often I find that the sellers have put all the build instructions and so on in the eBay listing. There's a bunch of resistors. Now, one thing, this board is actually not bad for a cheapo eBay kit. All the components have their values listed, which is always nice. The board quality itself is pretty good. The plating on the holes is through hole, which is all definitely a plus. The circuit traces are easy to read, so if somebody is trying to learn electronics, they're going to be able to do that. The only thing I'm actually really concerned about is these pads, as well as these. This is a lot of pads for connecting to something, and I just don't know what. Let's see what else we have in here. A couple of diodes, diode. Now see, again, I feel like I'm missing something here, because here's a pin header, and the pin header would probably go here, even though I'm going to have to cut it to do that. But a pin header implies connecting to another board. A couple more resistors. And here's the other board that I think I'm talking about here. Because I would say, if you notice right here, there's something potted under here. I could probably take that off, but I'd probably disrupt it. So I'm gonna, even though this is interesting, I'm gonna try and bring that as close as I can. I don't know if it's resolving. If you look at these holes, the 1, 2, 3, 4 are in a row. 5 is up a little bit, and 6 is back in the same plane. So I'm not sure what that means. This is getting more and more mysterious as I go along. And here's a little speaker. Again, these speakers are everywhere. And 4 switches. One more disc cap. And then the ICs. And the ICs, this one is a TI chip that looks legit. This one, this one has a logo that could theoretically be Texas Instruments, but it's really, this is probably a knockoff chip. So that's a CD 4011 Baker Eddy, and this is a CD 4066 Baker Eddy. So this one looks legit, this one looks like it's a knockoff. But again, I think the thing that's most intriguing to me right now is I think that this has to go with that somehow, doesn't it? So that's the parts in the kit. And at this point, I could probably solder them all together, and I still wouldn't know what I'm doing. Because one thing, there's a plus and a minus here, implying that, I don't know, do I bring power in to these two? No, that's where the resistor goes. But I also don't know how much power it takes. I mean, obviously I can start at 3 volts and work up and see what happens. But this is interesting. I'm going to go look at the eBay listing on this and see if we can figure out what this thing actually does and how to put it together. Again, the board is straightforward. We can get all that done. It's when we get this additional board with the potted component, which is probably some wacky microcontroller under there. I don't know how that's going to go together. So I'm going to pause the cameras a little bit while I dive into eBay. So this is the listing from eBay for the kit I actually bought, and as you can see, it was less than $2 US. And it's a 16 music box, 16 sound, 16 tone box, box 16 electronic module DIY kit. There's not a whole lot of information here. If we scroll through the pictures, you can see that the pictures are just different angles of the parts I already showed you. And then the description, 16 tone box under your control, arbitrary issued 16 kinds of interesting analog sound, both an electronic toy and can be used as doorbell or alarm. So the 4 switches are here. If you see 4 zeros, machine gun, 3 zeros and 1, so 1 switch on, fire truck voice, 0010 ambulance voice, again using the switches as a binary matrix to pick up the 16 sounds. But there isn't actually any more guidance than that. So we'll solder it up, and once we have it soldered up, we'll see if we can figure it out. Again, I can solder most of it up, but this board, I'm just confused as to where it goes and what it does. Again, it's 2 potential places it can go. With that pin header, it can go here, or it can go here. And also, I'm sorry, I seriously don't know where I apply power here. I'm gonna take a wild guess and say this is ground and the A is where I'm going to put the positive power in, but I can't guarantee that. No, wait a minute, because as I look on the back, the A pad doesn't have any traces coming from it. So that can't be. The only one that has traces coming from it is the C-pad. So, I don't know. It'll be fun to figure it out. So we'll use our little solder block for this one. We don't need the vise for this one. And we'll just start throwing stuff in. Now, one of the beauties of kits like this is because it was just $2, you can experiment all you want. Apply power at random places. Hook the boards up in interesting ways, and you don't worry about it blowing up or releasing magic smoke, because it only costs you $2. So we've got all the passive components soldered down, and the other thing I've noticed is right here there are two solder points, one plus and one minus, so maybe that's where we want to put our power in. Let me look at the back of it and see where it seems to go. So that, which would be the positive, is going right to this diode. Yeah, so that makes sense. So I'm going to make the assumption that that's power. Okay, I'm going to go grab some 24 gauge wire from the wire rack. Almost gave myself a whisker short there, which is never good. Again, we still don't know how much voltage this takes, but that's okay. We can, starting at 3 volts and coming up from there is always a safe bet. Now again, the great mystery is how this daughterboard, if that's what it is, goes on. Now, as you can see, it almost lines up, the holes almost line up here. With this pad going to this large pad and these two pads going to here, but obviously the pin header won't work simply because these aren't drilled in a straight line. So I'm going to grab some solid core single strand wire, and I'm going to rig it up the way I think it goes, but I could be completely wrong. Well, not completely wrong, I could be wrong. So I'm just going to grab some 22 solid single strand, cut a bunch of pieces off. Actually, let me go ahead and use the Knipex to start a strip and then pull it the rest of the way off. and cut a bunch of roughly equal lengths. So I'm going to solder them onto the blue motherboard first, and I'm going to solder them from the top. And I'm going to need a little something for them to rest on. I think if I slide these tweezers under there, that should be good. Now, let's get them all straightened up, and we'll try and feed them through. I think I'm going to feed them through this way, because that seems to make sense. Now, a smarter person than me would have actually made all these wires the same height, but you're stuck with me. I mean, obviously you can go click your mouse anywhere you want and go to another channel and find somebody smarter than me and watch him or her build electronics. Okay, so if anyone is revising a electronic textbook and you need an illustration of the term haywire, that's what we got going on here. I don't know what the heck I'm doing here. Again, I have no idea whether this is going to do anything except possibly create smoke. Okay, so that's as wired up as I'm going to be here. Let me go grab a power supply. One of my little power supplies that I built about. I have about 5 of these around the shop. I put up a video of the build of this a while ago. So we'll turn it up to 3 volts to start. And I'm connecting to this power. I mean to these 2 leads because I can't think of anything else. All switches are in the off position, which means it'll be number 1 of 16. I'm waiting for the water pump to go off. I have very low water pressure out here in the sticks, so I have a boost pump that charges an accumulator that feeds pressure into the house. Okay, let's see if this does anything. Hup! Look at that, it makes noise. Let me drop the microphone down so you may be able to hear it. Oh, look at that. Let me start changing switches. What do you know about that? We figured it out and it actually works. That's pretty neat. So haywire pays off sometimes. So in the end, that was kind of fun. I mean, it makes some kind of cute noises. I'll keep this around to play with. Obviously, this is not necessarily a beginner kit, because I'm not sure a beginner would have necessarily haywired it together the way I did. But it does work, and for less than $2, it's an interesting little kit. Go ahead, get one of these, have some fun. Or get one of these, hand them to your junior builder and say, here, kiddo, figure out how this works. So that's it for tonight. I hope you enjoyed it.